Hello, Duncan Gibb. I welcome you today. You had a very engaged speech this morning on the conference Solar Heating and Cooling 2019 in Santiago, and you presented the Global Status Report. You are part of REN21, of the Research Direction Team, and you are responsible for authoring and publishing this great report. It's a good status on the whole range of renewables. So I would like you to pick the key good messages from this report, which covers 2018.
Sure. Thank you for having me here today. And I am happy to say that there are good messages in the report. One of the key messages that is positive is coming from the power sector, and that's the fact that renewable energy now makes up 26%, over 26% actually, of our electricity production. This is, I should also note, since we're on a solar conference, solar PV now accounts for 2.4% of this, which is a very significant increase in the past years. In the last year, as a second positive message, over 100 gigawatts of solar PV was added, which was an absolute record that is actually expected to be broken this year as well, so we can keep our fingers crossed for that. As a third message, one that's becoming more and more widespread but very important, is the fact that renewable solar PV and wind power are now cost competitive in many, many locations with fossil fuel technologies. So those are really the three main takeaways the main positive takeaways from the report.
I think you also had some alarming messages for the audience of this conference. Can you give us some insights into that?
Well, one of the main alarming messages is indicated by the fact that I only spoke about electricity just now. And as we know, electricity only makes up around 17% of the energy we use, which is a very small amount. The rest of it is taken by heating and cooling, which is around 50%, and transport, which is around a third. In both of these sectors, though, despite taking up so much of the energy we use, the shares of renewables in the sectors are very low. So in heating and cooling, we only have 10% renewable energy, and in the transport sector, only 3%. So this is there's a very urgent need to decarbonize these sectors that we're trying to make people aware of this fact with the Renewables Global Status Report. On top of that, we've identified the fact that there is still persistent subsidies for fossil fuels worldwide. Over $400 billion in 2018 was provided for fossil fuel consumption subsidies. This was an increase of 33% on 2017, which is enormous. And then I also want to draw as a third alarming point the fact that the investment in renewable energy actually declined last year. And I'll say the number, which was $289 billion. So you'll notice that the subsidies for fossil fuel consumption in that last year were significantly higher than the total investment in renewable energy. And if we actually want to transition these sectors to full renewables, this is something that urgently needs to change.
Yourself, you come from the solar heating and cooling sector. What reasons do you see for this slow uptake in this sector?
Well, I'll speak more generally about the heating sector itself, not just solar heating and cooling. We've seen success in the power sector largely because of the effect of policies. Ambitious and stringent policies that have mandated the need for this to happen, or have provided incentives that have made the technology uptake take place. In the heating and cooling sector, this has simply not been the case. We've seen that in 2018, despite the fact that there are 135 countries that have renewable power policies, only around 20 countries have policies, regulatory policies, in the heating and cooling sector. Coupled with this fact is a bit more of a technical reason. The heating and cooling sector is very local, so you have heat that is produced and consumed very usually in the exact same place. This means in the end that you have local firms that are operating in this sector. You have no global industry that really engages in the heating and cooling sector, and as a result, you have very little data on the heating and cooling sector worldwide. What this means is that it's very difficult to describe the challenge that we're facing, and as a result, policymakers and the general public have very little awareness to the contribution of heating and cooling, as well as the urgent need to take action in the sector.
What do you do as your network, REN21, to change this situation, particularly in solar heating and cooling?
beyond the global status report, which reports on obviously the global developments on this sector, we are also launching a new initiative on renewable energy in cities. And as I mentioned, the local nature of the heating and cooling sector means that it's very, very important to engage with local actors on the ground, whether it's technology manufacturers or operators of district heating and cooling systems. These people who are engaged in these day-to-day operations and who are able to contribute data and allow us to prepare a consolidated picture of the heating and cooling sector. So this is one of our upcoming products that we're looking forward to launching in the next couple of weeks at Ren21, and hoping to build it up to be a long-standing initiative that will bring attention to this very big problem in the renewable heating and cooling sector in due time.
So absolutely, I wish you good luck for your work.
Thanks very much.